I'm not bothered. Listen, I'm a fighter, and I fight every time. Wherever I've even got one hand.
In the world of heavyweight boxing, power is everything. It is the sound that shakes the arena, the force that ends a fight in seconds, and the magic that turns men into legends. Through decades, giants have come and gone, men whose fists wrote history with thunder. And now a new storm is rising. Two worlds, two generations, two fighting souls stand on a collision course. One is a young lion from Britain, fierce and fearless. The other is a Mexican warrior who once shocked the world and wore the crown of a heavyweight king. Moses Itauma versus Andy Ruiz Jr., the clash of titans the world has been waiting for. Moses Itauma is only 20 years old, yet his presence already feels ancient, like he has carried this destiny since birth. Born with rare gifts, he moves like no other heavyweight, quick, smooth, light on his feet, yet his punches land like falling boulders. In every fight, he looks calm, almost quiet, until the moment the first punch lands. Then the monster wakes. With a record sparkling clean, 13 fights, 13 wins, 11 knockouts. He has turned every ring into his personal showcase. Opponents come in confident and leave wondering what just happened. He is the new face of British boxing, a fighter so young, yet so composed, that even legends watch him with awe. He brings the energy of youth, but the mind of a veteran. In every jab, there's calculation. In every hook, there's purpose. His fans call him the prodigy, and for good reason. When he steps between the ropes, time slows down. His reactions are sharp, his eyes cold, his punches blazing fast. He makes the impossible look simple. But no matter how high you climb, there is always someone waiting to test your limits. For Moses Itauma, that test is Andy Ruiz Jr., the man who once shocked the world by beating Anthony Joshua and becoming the first Mexican-born heavyweight champion in history. Ruiz, nicknamed the Destroyer, carries not just power but pride. His story is one of defiance. He didn't look like a champion. He didn't have the sculpted body or the Hollywood frame, but inside that frame was a fighter's heart, a heart that refused to quit. In 2019, the boxing world laughed when Ruiz stepped in against Joshua. Many thought he didn't belong there, that he was just a late replacement, a name to fill the card. Then came the moment that changed everything. Ruiz unleashed a storm. His hands, deceptively fast for a heavyweight, exploded like pistons. Joshua, the undefeated superstar, was dropped, shaken, and then destroyed. The world gasped as Ruiz stood over him, the unlikeliest of kings. Mexico had its first heavyweight champion, and the legend of the Destroyer was born. That night, Ruiz became more than a fighter. He became a symbol, proof that heart beats image, that willpower crushes expectation. But the crown is heavy. The months that followed were not kind. Fame, distractions, and comfort crept in. When he faced Joshua again in the rematch, he was heavier, slower, unfocused. The same man who shocked the world now looked human. He lost the belts, and with them, the momentum that had made him unstoppable. But true warriors never disappear. They rebuild. Ruiz stepped back into the gym, shed the weight, fixed his focus, and came back stronger. His journey was far from over. Against veterans like Chris Arreola, he reminded the world of what made him special: blistering combinations, fearless exchanges, and the iron chin of a man who refuses to back down. Even when he was dropped, he came back throwing. That is the spirit of Andy Ruiz Jr. Break him, and he grows stronger. Now, years later, his fire burns again. He's leaner, hungrier, and smarter. The ring is his second home, and the roar of the crowd still fuels his heart. He has seen the highs of victory and the pain of defeat. He knows what it feels like to be forgotten, and what it takes to rise again. And standing before him now is the perfect challenge. A young, undefeated prodigy looking to build his own empire. The Destroyer versus the Prodigy. Experience versus youth. Wisdom versus hunger. Power versus speed. Moses Itauma's rise has been nothing short of meteoric. Every time he steps into the ring, fans whisper about the next great heavyweight era, the one he might lead. His knockouts are clean, quick, and merciless. Against fighters like Mike Belligan, he didn't waste a second. A few jabs to measure distance, a feint to draw reaction, and then, boom. One perfect right hook and it's over. The crowd barely has time to blink. Commentators call him Tyson-like, but Itauma is crafting his own identity, colder, calmer, and frighteningly efficient. What makes him so dangerous is not just his power, but his composure. He fights like a man who has seen it all. No panic, no rush. He controls the tempo like a conductor guiding an orchestra of violence. His left hand sets the trap, his right hand delivers the ending. Every move is a lesson in balance and precision. He doesn't just hit, he hunts. Yet beneath all that confidence, there is a question that lingers, one that only time can answer. How will he handle deep waters? How will he respond when someone refuses to fall, when the storm doesn't end after the first few punches? Every young destroyer faces that moment, the test of endurance, the test of heart. And few opponents can deliver that test better than Andy Ruiz Jr. Ruiz is a survivor. He's been knocked down, written off, counted out, but never truly beaten. His combination of hand speed and toughness makes him a nightmare for anyone. He absorbs punishment like a wall and fires back with lightning counters. His rhythm, that unpredictable mix of Mexican pressure and quick bursts, breaks opponents mentally long before physically. He's been through wars that Moses has only watched on television. That experience could be the edge he needs, but experience alone might not be enough against a new breed like Itauma. Moses fights with the hunger of a man chasing destiny. He wants to prove that youth can conquer history, that a new king can rise even while the old one still roars. Every punch he throws carries the promise of a new era. If this fight happens, Nigeria versus Mexico, youth versus veteran, new world versus old glory, it will be more than a boxing match. It will be a test of philosophy. Andy Ruiz fights with emotion, with heart, with the fire of a man who has seen everything. Moses Itauma fights with precision, with calculation, with the calm fury of youth unscarred by defeat. It is chaos versus order, instinct versus strategy, the destroyer versus the designer. Imagine the arena lights dimming, the crowd buzzing, waiting. On one side, the young lion bouncing on his toes, eyes sharp, ready to prove he belongs among the greats. On the other, the veteran warrior, face of stone, carrying the memories of past battles like scars of pride. When the bell rings, two worlds collide. The first round would be electric. Itauma, fast and sharp, using his jab to measure Ruiz's distance. Ruiz, patient and composed, waiting for the counter. Each step a chess move, each feint a test. The tension would thicken with every second. Then a flash, a jab from Itauma, a counter from Ruiz, both men feeling the weight of destiny pressing on their shoulders. Ruiz would push forward, forcing exchanges. He would test the young man's chin, his heart, his patience. Itauma would have to adapt, to use his movement, to pick his shots with care. Every round would tell a story, the story of youth meeting fire, of a young predator learning what true danger feels like. And if Itauma can stand in that fire and not burn, then he will prove he is not just talented, but complete. Because fighting Andy Ruiz is not about surviving punches. It's about surviving pressure, the endless tide of a man who refuses to back up. Ruiz's fists don't just hit, they suffocate. But Moses thrives under pressure. His calm doesn't break, it sharpens. And that is what makes this matchup so fascinating. Both men are comfortable in chaos. Both believe they cannot be broken. Ruiz knows what it means to fight with the world against him. Itauma is learning what it means to fight with the world watching him. One carries the past, the other carries the future. Both fight for legacy. For Ruiz, victory would mean redemption. Proof that he still belongs among the elite, that his story didn't end in 2019. For Itauma, victory would mean validation. Proof that he is not just a rising star, but the next ruler of the heavyweight kingdom. Every punch, every round, would carry the weight of that truth. Behind the gloves, behind the muscles, lies the human element. Fear, pride, hunger, hope. Ruiz fights for his country, for his family, for the millions who saw themselves in him. Itauma fights for destiny, for greatness, for the idea that age doesn't define potential. Both men step into the ring not as enemies, but as reflections of each other at different stages of the same dream. The night of the fight would be electric, cameras flashing, chants echoing through the arena, Mexico's colors waving proudly, Britain's flags rising high. Two nations holding their breath, the ring announcer's voice fading, the crowd falling silent, and then the bell. That sound marks the start of history. Ruiz would move forward as always, his shoulders rolling, his guard tight. Itauma would circle fast and composed, waiting for the right moment. The first punches would land like warnings, reminders that this is not just a contest, but survival. Ruiz's combinations would come in bursts, but Itauma's counters would slice through them like blades. Both would test each other's limits. Both would refuse to retreat. As the rounds continue, fatigue sets in. The ring becomes smaller, the air thicker. Every breath costs more. Every movement demands willpower. This is where champions are made. Not in the easy rounds, but in the hard ones where your body screams to stop and your mind whispers, "One more." Itauma would discover new layers of himself in those moments. Ruiz would rediscover the fire that made him a champion. By the middle rounds, bruises would bloom, sweat would drip like rain, and pride would be the only thing keeping them standing. The crowd would sense it. Two warriors locked in a battle not just for victory, but for respect. Every punch would echo with history, and in those moments, it wouldn't matter who wins the scorecards. What would matter is the image. Two fighters, one rising, one refusing to fall, giving everything they have. This is what boxing is about. Not fame, not money, but the human spirit tested under lights brighter than the sun. If Itauma wins, he becomes the face of a new generation. The boy who became a man in the ring, the heir to the throne once ruled by giants. If Ruiz wins, he reclaims his crown of defiance, the man who fell and rose again to remind the world that legends never die. Either way, the sport wins, because fights like this are rare. They remind us why boxing matters. They remind us that greatness isn't born in comfort, but in struggle, that every punch thrown carries a story, that in every fighter there's a dream to rise, to conquer, to be remembered. Moses Itauma stands at the beginning of his journey. His story is still being written, his ceiling still unknown. Andy Ruiz Jr. stands in the second act of his legend, still chasing the ending he believes he deserves. When these two forces meet, time will hold its breath. Youth will meet experience. Speed will meet willpower. The old guard will face the new storm. When the final bell rings and the crowd erupts, one truth will remain. Both men will have earned their place among warriors. For Moses Itauma, it will be the test that defines him. For Andy Ruiz, it will be the battle that redeems him. And for boxing fans everywhere, it will be the clash of titans they will never forget. Because this isn't just a fight, it's a collision of worlds, a story of hunger and redemption, a reminder that no matter how different their paths, all champions share the same heartbeat, the one that whispers, "I will not fall." In the end, when the gloves come off and the lights dim, the echoes of their battle will remain, the sound of two souls meeting in the center of the ring, fighting not just for victory, but for immortality. And as long as boxing exists, people will talk about that night, the night Moses Itauma and Andy Ruiz stood face to face, the young lion and the scarred warrior, and gave the world a fight worthy of legends. Because in boxing, there are many champions, but only a few titans. And when titans clash, the world watches, hearts pounding, breath held, knowing that for a few unforgettable rounds, we are witnessing greatness in its purest form.